The Rosie and Bill Show wish to thank our primary sponsors. The Mallon Agency, located in Springfield, PA, where they take pride in exceeding expectations every time. Anthony DeCecco and our friends at Tennis Addiction are ready to serve all your tennis needs at their beautiful facility in Exton, PA. Welcome everyone to the Rosie and Bill Show. Our guest this week knew that music was her calling at a very early age. And she first made a name for herself, making it all the way to the finals on Canadian Idol in 2003. And since that time, she's racked up more awards and accolades up north than I can count. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, not 6, not 7, but 8-time BC CMA Female Artist of the Year Award winner, Karen Lee Batten. Karen Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. What an intro, my friend. Wow. It's so great to meet you both for the first time. I've heard wonderful things about your show, so I'm just very grateful to be on here with you guys today. Thank you.
Well, we're really happy to have you, Karen Lee. And before I ask my first question, I have to compliment you on your beautiful hair.
Oh,
your hair color was my mother's favorite color, so you know, I couldn't help but notice.
I get it from my grandmother. 10-second story. My brother did tell me pretty much my whole life growing up that I was adopted because my parents did not look anything like me. They had brown straight hair and no one really had my color eyes. And so my brother had me fooled that I was adopted. And then as I got older, I realized I looked pretty much exactly like my grandma. So maybe there's a chance.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's sweet that you figured it out. Thank God. But why are boys so mean? I don't understand brothers terrorizing their sisters.
I think they really wish they were us.
There you go.
I terrorized my brother. I told my brother he was adopted. In fact, I still do.
My brother gave me a birthday card on my 17th birthday. And at the front it said, "Hey sis, you remember how I told you that you were adopted when you were little? Well, I'm really sorry." And I open it up and it says, "But we still haven't found your real parents." I'm like, you little man.
That's hilarious. Well, you gotta love them. All right. Well, speaking of family members, first of all, congratulations on all your awards. That's incredible. And folks, when you hear Karen Lee's voice, you won't be surprised that she's so decorated as an artist. So congratulations on that. But we're speaking of family now. We understand you started singing at the age of 4. What influence did your father have on that?
Yeah, I grew up in a musical family, and I think it's sort of funny when you're younger because the things that your family might have that's different than a different family, you don't have any idea that that's different, So I thought it was totally normal that my dad was a bass player and he was cutting cassette tapes in a Christian band and playing bass guitar in the church, and so as a 4-year-old, I remember just kind of sitting front row in the church, and I'm sure I annoyed everyone around me as I belted out every lyric that I possibly could, probably wrong. You know how you hear a song one way and you think you're singing the right lyric for years and years until you can finally figure it out. But I looked up to him, greatly, that he could sing like he did, perform like he did, and play bass guitar. My mom was in the choir. And so as a young kid, I got put into the children's choirs in the church, and soon became a part of any choir I could and any band that I could. I went on to play alto saxophone in school and piano for a long while. I definitely was one of those music lesson kids that had to be, doing my 1-hour practice every day. But yeah, I sort of followed in their footsteps. My parents put me into schools that always had good music programs, and I was the before and after school kid in every band and choir I could be a part of.
Was there a particular, Karen Lee, was there a particular moment? Like, it sounds like, again, you were so involved in music from that young age up through school and all these different activities. Was there a particular moment or event when kind of the light bulb went off and you said, you know what, this is what I want to do?
There absolutely was. It's funny because I don't know if I've got that question, and if I have, it's been a decade. I skipped Sunday school one day, and there was another gal also in Sunday school that was a singer. And her and I was in the church parking lot, but I didn't leave, I didn't leave the area, but I wasn't where I should be. And she used to sing Whitney Houston songs all the time. And she would find like the cool echo corners of like the church areas and we all totally understand that. They always have like the interesting little corridors or hallways or cement little stairwells or whatever. And she and I would sneak off and she'd go, try this line. And we'd like belt out, I will always love you in different areas of the church. And I remember at one point I had practiced it so many times at home, and she had me singing it in one of these little areas. And she went, you can sing, right? And I went, oh, no, not like you. And she goes, no, 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 like you can really sing. You should really, try this. Now, I had already been singing in choirs when I was super little. The first real solo that I had in church, I pulled my dress up over my head and I was like 5 years old. So in front of the whole entire congregation, I guess I had it where if they couldn't see me, like I thought that if I couldn't see them, they couldn't see me, so that's how young I was. It's like a really awful game of peekaboo, wrong place to do it. And I remember my mom, she was in the second level of the church, so there was zero she could do about it at the time. You can't get down fast enough. So I was already singing quite a bit, but I remember that one gal, and I can't even remember her name. It's terrible to say, but I remember that she looked at me at one point and just went, no, 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 like your voice is different than just singing. Like you can sing, and you should be doing, that sort of thing. And so that was the first time I kind of went, what, really?
And how old were you then?
I want to say I was probably 12,
Okay.
maybe 13. Probably 12 actually, because I don't know if I was in high school yet at that point. Like I was still in an elementary school and I was getting the odd little solo, but nothing like where it really pushed my voice to that other level of trying to accomplish anything Whitney Houston level, So yeah, and then I went on to be a part of cutting some CDs. Yes, CDs for like in my high school choirs, and I got given some solos. So it was the first time I'd really heard my voice on a recording, which was very strange. And I still have that CD somewhere. I got to dig that up for sure. The Mennonite Educational Choir, Institution Choir. Seriously, we're not Mennonite. My parents were like, you're going to this school because they got the best choir.
Wow. Isn't that something? See, there you go. You can see the familial influence right there. It wasn't about academics. It's like, well, we're definitely going to use her voice. She's going where the best choir is.
We're going to retire on this kid somehow. I'm just kidding.
And you also, though, Karen Lee, when you grew up and you started working at different jobs, it seems like music was a through line there as well. Was that by design?
Yeah, I always wanted to at least like keep my feet in the music somehow. And I know this is terrible to admit, but it's like books for me were not so fun. So, like in high school, it's like I would dread going to English class and social studies and, things in science and so on. As much as we all know we have to do it, I really wanted to just go to music class and maybe gym and art. So I came out of school, and obviously music wasn't necessarily the first thing that was going to make me a lot of money. And I moved out right away. So I moved out at 17. And so I waitressed a lot. And when I could, I went on from like busing and so on, however you start, into waitressing and being able to make some tips. And then at nighttime, I would go and run karaoke shows. So it helped kind of keep my chops up, learning different songs and different material and figuring out kind of like where my niche was and the type of music that I wanted to sing, which originally was not country. It was very much more, I love singing blues and jazz, and then it was some rock and roll as well, and country was probably about third on the list for me, to be honest. So yeah, I started doing the karaoke show thing, and then that's when Idol came about, and I never sang country on Idol. I did Nora Jones, and then I did Alana Miles. That was what I did for the top 10 performances.
Yeah, I've seen the video of you doing Black Velvet, and I didn't realize at the time, but Alana Miles is also Canadian.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But your version of that was so bluesy, soulful. I mean, you knocked it out of the park, and clearly you had a great run on that show, made it all the way to the finals. How did that kind of impact the trajectory of your career?
Yeah, that was a very wild time for anyone who's been a part of a competition. It's like it's stressful. It's really stressful. I didn't know how much I loved music until I went on to a show like that. And I'll also say I didn't know about how much talent was in our country until I was a part of 200 people that I could not have told you who would have won or lost that competition at the time. Like we all, in the first week that we went there, each of us had to go up on stage in like an Orpheum style layout, and each of us had to sing in front of the other 199, like a cappella. It was super nerve-wracking. So you get yours done and you think, okay, well, that wasn't too bad, was it? Like, I don't really know. I think I did Let It Rain, Amanda Marshall. And you're just trying to pull out all the stops that you can. And then all of a sudden the next person gets up and they just blow my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, never mind. I'm like, mine was like a 6, So I think for that show for me, it sort of gave me that mindset of A, I love to sing so much. B, this is going to be harder than I thought. And I was going to age myself now, but whatever. I was 22 when I auditioned for that show, and there were 6,000 people that auditioned that year. And yeah, it just kind of like started everything for me. And when I got off that show, then I had some people approach me and say, you know what, like I really hear the country in your voice. And I hadn't really heard it at that point. Like I had been kind of playing around with the idea, because like doing the karaoke shows, you'll kind of try whatever and people go, you got to sing this. Okay, fine, I'll try that. But I hadn't really done too many shows in the country genre at that point. And then when I got off that show, I was approached by a producer and a few musicians and so on. And I was super green, and went off and did a 5-song demo album was the first thing that I did. And then from that demo album, used that to pitch to different people that I should do a full actual record. And that's when the record Every Moment came about. And that was my first country album.
Well, that's a great story. And it's nice to hear that you were approached by people who wanted to utilize and showcase your talent, because sometimes, like you said, there are so many really incredibly talented people, and there's just not always a place for everyone. And that doesn't mean you should stop or anything, but I mean, it doesn't always happen immediately for everyone.
Yeah.
And that can be disheartening for some artists, but the truth is that it just might not be yet. So don't leave 5 seconds before the miracle, as a friend of mine always says. But the other thing that based on what you were talking about when you said, oh, my performance was a 6 after you heard everyone else, well, you made it to the finals. So the lesson there that I'm hearing is we judge ourselves very harshly sometimes. And the lesson is just do what you do to the best of your ability and release the judgment so we don't get in our own way.
It's so true. So true. And I do get asked the question often, what would you tell either your younger self, or what would you tell somebody who's just starting out? And I mean, to this day, I still hear no's. And you're putting out your single and you're trying to get it on X, Y, and Z platforms, or you're trying to get onto that show. And as an independent artist, it's a hustle. And, like the no's are okay for me now, but man, in the beginning, like you're just saying, that it was so tough. And you hear a couple no's and you're like, well, that's it. I guess, I guess this dream's over, but you're right. Like, we are hard on ourselves. And sometimes that's okay to be a little, like I can do better. But it doesn't ever mean that, like, if that's really your passion and your love, like, do not stop and stay true to that sound and what you want to put out and the type of music that you want to sing, and just keep doing it, because you've got a lane there. There's room for everybody. So just do it and you're going to get better.
I want to touch on, Karen Lee, another aspect of your career, and that's your live performances, because I've seen quite a few clips of you performing, and what really jumps out or stands out to me is your passion, your energy, your powerful voice live is incredible. And I'm wondering, is there anything even remotely close to matching that feeling that you must get just before you take the stage? Because you just light it up when you hit it.
I love that. Let me think. Is there anything that comes close? It's a rush. And I think that a lot of people, whether in my shoes or in other areas, other aspects of life, that they might feel that same feeling. It's a rush. And there was times when when I was growing up where the nerves, oh my gosh, the nerves would make me almost sick to my stomach. And there was once somebody must have said something to me that probably flipped that for me, because it went from one day feeling so nervous to me telling myself that those aren't nerves, that's excitement. And so I just make myself like feel so pumped. And instead of looking at where I'm headed, I focus on, look at all those people out there in front of me that are so excited to see the next act that's coming on stage. And they're there because they love country music, or they're there because they love live music, or they're there because they like to drink. Like, I don't know. But they're there for the show, and they're there to have a good time, and they all have smiles on their faces. And like, I'm so excited to then be the next act to hopefully make them smile and dance and, spend their afternoon not thinking about their job or whatever the case may be, and I don't know, I just feel it's going to be super cheesy, you guys, but I feel really blessed that, like, I've been doing this for quite a while, and that people are still engaged with what I'm doing, and that I get to call this my job. Like, it's not always like, peaches, but it's pretty awesome that I get to create music and express things that I've written that end up paired with a sound that people have enjoyed, that I get to then enter a stage and then give to people that hopefully they love it back. And then to look out and see people singing lyrics that you've written. I mean, there's just nothing greater. So I think that's maybe where the energy comes from for me. And again, like, I don't like science. So
well, I think that we had a guest on recently who mirrored what you just said, which was that he has the best job in the world because he gets to make people happy. And
totally.
It's icing on the cake that it also bounces back to you when you see them enjoying, an inspiration that came from you. So it's just a beautiful, energetic exchange. Now, you have a video that recently came out called The Trouble with Friends. And we understand there's like a story behind that. And what's so special about that song for you?
So in writing that song, I went into a writing session with a very good buddy of mine, Jeff Johnson. I love writing with him, and he also produced on this track as well. And I called him up one day and I said, okay, I just want to write a song that's like about your everyday, you're calling up your girlfriend and you want to go for brunch, and maybe you're going to go to the local watering hole. It's just going to be that place when you walk in, you're probably going to know somebody. It's that place that you could go even by yourself and go sit up at the bar and have a coffee or a beer or whatever. And you probably know the bartender, or someone's going to walk in at some point and they're going to go, oh, hey, Karen, I haven't seen you in a while, or whatever, that place. Right. And I feel like we can all relate to this, where we, are going to join a buddy for one beer, or we're going to go for brunch with a girlfriend, just have a mimosa, and then all of a sudden, Sally walks in. Well, I haven't seen Sally in a while, so I better stay for another one. And, Mike, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Mike. And next thing you know, there's 4 or 5 of you and you're having a great time. And then you just, one more than the bill, and then I got to get out of here. And then it's last call, and that's your whole day. So that's where the whole premise of this song came from. And it was just sort of a like a chill ride. I don't know how else to explain it, but there isn't a whole lot of thick to it. It's just sort of fun, relatable, and yeah, oh my word, I've done that. So the idea is friends in low places really don't let you leave, and that's the trouble with friends.
That's really cute. But you also had some special people in the video with you.
I did, yes. So that watering hole that I go to, I have about 6 or 7 people that I drafted off the bar basically and said, hey, you're going to be in a video. So I did not know them before that restaurant. And then my brother is in there. He's the guy in the white shirt that looks like he's drank a ton. He's got about 6 M's in front of him. My sister-in-law is in that video. My makeup artist, who's one of my very close friends, she's there. My best friend is the other waitress. And my neighbor, I walked out of my house one day and she goes, oh, what? I have my luggage. It's not very rare for me to leave my home with my luggage in hand, right? And she goes, oh, where are you going this time? And I said, well, actually, I'm cutting my music video this afternoon. You are? Where? Can I come watch it? I said, well, why don't you be in it? She goes, really? I go, yeah. So she's one of my she's one of the friends in it. My other best friend, Jen, who has a line in the song, Jenny's hiding out from her kids at home. That's Jenny. She's in it. So everyone in there, one of my stepson's best friend, Memphis, he's in there with a couple of his buddies too. So everyone in there I know. And that's what makes this video even more funny to me, is that I'm looking around going, that's actually real alcohol with all of my real friends. So I know, right? So we did have a good time.
No, it's clear that you did it, and it's a great song, and it's a great video, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyone who hasn't seen it yet, we highly encourage you to go check it out. Now, Karen Lee, we're going to get to another new song that's coming out very shortly, but before we do, there's another project that I have to ask you about because it literally blew me away when I saw some clips from a few years back. You made a trip down south to the legendary Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals. So how did that come about? And more importantly, where in God's name did that version of Sweet Home Alabama come from? Because that is freaking amazing.
I love that you love it. That's so awesome. That song, I'll come back to this, but that song, recording that song, I was so nervous. And rightfully so, because of the room I was in and the band that I had. Even just breaking the news to them that I wanted to record that song put me in a sweat. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
It was a brave move.
Thank you. I had actually done a weird little recording session up here in Canada at a studio called Greenhouse Studios. And there was a little endorsement that I had been given to advertise a microphone company called Biodynamics. And they had a mic where you could actually change the ribbons on top and it created a different sound, but the stem was the same. So it was a really interesting concept because then you don't have to lug around a bunch of stuff. So you can just kind of change it depending on the sound that you want. So that day, all I said to the producer that day, and this is still up here, I said, all I want is the hard drive. Like, if you can just give me the hard drive and of course the microphone, but I just want the hard drive. And because it's live off the floor and it makes you feel a little uneasy. There's no editing and somebody's running around with your voice, right? So he said, no problem at all. So people got to stand in the control room and watch a session go down, and then they're hearing it all kind of live off the floor. I walked away with that hard drive and I listened to it and I went, that's what I want to do. Right there, I want to do something live that's not overproduced, not all the crazy bells and whistles. You can hear yourself breathe. You can hear your mouth open. You can hear yourself smiling. All the instruments, like there's breathing room there across the board. And so I took it to a buddy who I had known for years, but never directly worked with. His name's Mitch Merritt. And I said, what am I going to do with this? And he goes, oh my gosh, we got to go down to where this happens originally from back in the day. So originally we were just going to go down there and cut a record, most likely kind of more blues country, but like our own music. And he said, I know this guy, Mike Pyle. I'm going to reach out to him. And Mike produced on a Bobby Wills record. And so we knew him from here, but he lived down there. And so he came on board and said, I'll co-produce this with you and I'll get you into fame. But to top that off, I'll get you as many of the original Swampers band that I can possibly get because I'm friends with these guys. So we ended up with about, I want to say 8 or 9 of the original Swampers band from back in the day that recorded Respect with Aretha Franklin, I'd Rather Go Blind, Etta James. They recorded Sweet Home Alabama. They recorded Wild Horses, Mustang Sally. Like so many songs came out of the studio. And next thing you know, fast forward, I'm standing there in the isolation booth, like looking at the exact same guy on the same whirly. Like there's Clayton Ivey playing on the same whirly that he played like with Aretha Franklin, and I'm standing in the same spot that she recorded Respect. And these, I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, but this was the most wild version of 6 degrees of separation. Like had one thing not happened the way that it happened, I never would have had that opportunity. And bless their souls, 4 of the people involved in that record are not even with us anymore. Jimmy Johnson, who played, I mean, he played lead guitar on Mustang Sally. He was sitting next to me playing acoustic guitar on my tracks. And I'm literally waving to him like, this is not happening right now. Just crazy. So yes, quite the whirlwind experience. And I remember going back to that original conversation about Sweet Home. I remember Mitch looking at me and he goes, so we're going to tell them now what song we're going to do next? And I'm like, I am not. You are. You're going to tell them. And it was Mitch's arrangement. He's the one that ended up changing a couple of those notes and crossing his fingers that they would like it. And I remember at first they were kind of like, okay, yeah, no, I think so. I think I can hear it. And then when we were all said and done, Clayton's so cute. We have it on camera where he looked at us and he goes, you know, I gotta say, I'm pretty sure that I might like this. This might be a better version than the original. And I'm like, you are lying. But that was a pretty cool compliment. And he just said, no, it turned out really, really good. And whew, I was very, very happy about that because that's the very first time I ever sang that song was down there in that room.
My
It had
goodness.
never been part of my sets before, and I just kind of went, well, if it was cut there, and we only want songs that are cut there. We only did one song that wasn't. I threw in a Canadian song, and outside of that, the other 10 were all cut in that spot.
Well, you are a brave lady, and it sounded like it really paid off for you. Before we go, Karen Lee, tell our audience about your new song, Somewhere in Between, and when is it coming out?
So Somewhere in Between comes out this weekend on Friday, and I'm super excited for this one. Somewhere in between, the concept behind this one is that our lives are super busy. And to make it short and sweet, it's that we have to find that time somewhere in between for the things that really matter. And I love the line where it says, like when all is said and done and we're, moving on from this life. I know it sounds terrible. I'm pretty sure that none of us are going to go, man, I really wish I worked more. And that we're gonna have wished that we took that trip or went and visited that person or picked up the phone and phoned that person, and had a longer conversation or, made that dinner last a little bit longer. So even though the song is written more about like a love relationship, it really does apply to so many other relationships in our life, and I just think about even I'm very blessed to still have my mom and my dad and my stepmom and my stepdad, and my husband has both his parents still as well. And that's like crazy, like to think that, that those people are still in our lives, but like, man, we got to grab that time while we can, because that's not going to be forever. So, I feel like it applies kind of all around. So yeah, finding time somewhere in between all the crazy.
Well, it sounds great. We look forward to hearing it. And folks, by the time the show airs, the song will be out. So please check it out somewhere in between. Karen Lee Batten. And Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. We love talking to you. You are wonderful and super talented. And we look forward to hearing. I want to hear the Sweet Home Alabama. I have not heard that yet. So I'm going to go look that up as soon as we get finished shooting. But we're going to end the show tonight with one of your videos. Is your first video that won an award, correct, Karen?
Oh yeah, drinking song. I've never won video of the year before, but I did end up winning on drinking song, which was really cool.
So we're gonna leave you folks with that. Karen, thank you so much. And folks, as always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. I really appreciate it.
When the heart is hard to take, I need a song to numb the pain. Yeah, when it's wrong, I need a drinking song. Well, I met him at the Blue Ridge Bar. Two lovers fell fast and hard. He made a pawn shop promise to never be untrue. Well, that dream that got bought and sold, and the lies couldn't be untold. So leaving was the only thing left to do. Pour it strong, I'll pour it on strong. I need a melody to sing when things go wrong. When the heart is hard to take, there's a song to numb the pain. Yeah, when it's wrong, I need a drinking song. Well, that itty bitty diamond ring used to mean everything. It wasn't long before the shine wore off, that's true. Yeah, well, I forgave a few mistakes, but when the repo man towed my truck away, I was gone, 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 singing a drinking song. Pour it strong, I'll pour it on strong. I need a melody to sing when things go wrong. When the heart is hard to take, there's a song to numb the pain. Yeah, when it's wrong, I need a drinking song. So when the bad gets the best of you, there's a honky-tonk bar that'll get you through. Drown the hurt in the drink, don't think, just sing along. And pour it strong, yeah, pour it on strong. I need a melody to sing when things go wrong. When the heart is hard to take, but there's a song to numb the pain. Yeah, when it's wrong, play me a drinking song. Yeah, when it's wrong, I need a drinking song. Yeah, what you got? Bourbon? I'll take a scotch and one beer.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.